have to go into certain background about the nature of reality itself before shapeshifting becomes explainable.
You know, people are going to struggle with the words reality and aliens in the same sentence.
Yeah, well, they can struggle how they like. I'm only interested in what's going on.
Because when I was taken to the island, I saw Epstien shift in front of my eyes. It was very, very frightening, and it's just something that I had to explain to myself because I saw him turn into something. And if someone else told me this, I wouldn't believe it, but unfortunately it happened to me. So I had to look into it and try to find reasons for it to explain it. You know, it's not an easy thing to talk about because I can understand that a lot of people wouldn't understand it if they hadn't seen it.
What was Epstein doing except creating a situation where people could be blackmailed, people of influence, political influence, royal influence, to do what they were told?
Was he a shape-shifting lizard, Epstein?
Well, that's interesting you should say that, because one of the women who was a girl when she was in the Epstein circle, a lady called Juliet Bryant, she tells the story of how she was in South Africa. She was a would-be model, and she was invited to a meeting with Jeffrey Epstein and Bill Clinton, and she said, I gave Epstein kind of credibility that he could do what he was telling me because Bill Clinton was sitting next to him. And when you do the research, because you try to check everything, Epstein and Clinton were in South Africa at that time, right? So then she gets into the Epstein circle and she goes to the island. And she said that on one occasion she looked at Epstein and he transformed into something else. She said it was not like directly reptilian. She described it as a reptilian dragon alien type of thing, which kind of shocked her. And she said, well, at that time, I knew nothing about any of this. And then later, her mother started doing research into what I was saying, and it kind of fitted.
Why did you choose the title Epstein, the dragon, the apple, and the butterfly? There's obviously the butterfly comes back here as well, to the blue butterfly. You were talking about you've got MK Ultra kind of connotations to the butterfly with the monarch butterfly. So why did you choose that title? It's a lovely title.
Because when I was taken to the island, I saw Epstien shift in front of my eyes. It was very, very frightening. And it's just something that I had to explain to myself because I saw him turn into something. And if someone else told me this, I wouldn't believe it. But unfortunately, it happened to me. So I had to look into it and try to find reasons for it to explain it. You know, it's not an easy thing to talk about because I can understand that a lot of people wouldn't understand it if they haven't seen it. Do you mind if I just have a puff of a cigarette? Sorry.
Yeah.
And then we keep going once.
Yeah, sure. Do another 5 minutes on top of this anyway, so that's fine.
Okay. Okay, let's do it.
So was this a theory that you were familiar with before? Was this the first time you heard it? So there's no suggestion in here. This is something you weren't aware of.
No, I wasn't aware of anything like that. You know, a few years later, my mum started actually researching David Icke, and my mum knew about the whole reptilian theory, and you know, so then I sort of clicked what I'd seen. Because, you know, the thing is, it wasn't actually like reptilian, it was more like an alien, like dragon, and that's when I looked into the Draconians, you know, the Draco law, you know, also the Order of the Dragon, the royal family are all apparently part of the Order of the Dragon. Also their descendant, Vlad the Drac, used to drink blood, Vlad the Impaler. You know, so I looked into a lot of history, and it sort of, yeah, it explained. But I saw him shift into something. It only happened once. But I've never seen anyone else turn into anything like that. And it happened. It was like a weird hologram, and it had like big black eyes. And it happened.
Big black eyes, and it wasn't quite reptilian, but it was esque.
Yeah, it was like reptilian, draconian, alien sort of thing. It was like, you know, it wasn't like the usual reptilian pictures that they draw of people where but I saw it, you know, and it was like, and I was, you know, when I looked at him and saw him as that, I decided to look away and look back at him. And when I looked back, it was him again. we're all gonna, I hope, find the truth together, because we all know there's more going on there, and I'll talk more when I'm ready.
So, you know, I do research over such a vast spectrum of subjects that appear on the surface to have no connection. But unless you do them, you can't understand the true nature of the here and now everyday events. So we're sitting here now, for instance, because one of the great areas that I've researched and go into in the roadmap is the nature of reality itself. Without understanding the nature of reality and how it's nothing like we experience it, you can't understand daily events. Because the inner circle of this cult, there's basically two worlds, right? There's the world of the cult, and what that's doing is passing over through the generations, the inner circle, not Bill and Joe down the lodge, highly advanced knowledge of where humanity is being taken to greater and greater dystopia, but also the nature of reality. Now, that has to be kept from the people, the population, the target population. So what you do, and if you do the research, you'll find this is the case. That cult inner circle and people like the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds and such like, they have created and control the sources of information that the population get. So if you look in America, the education system, programming system in America was instigated by J.D. Rockefeller, the Rockefeller family. And so on one side, you've got the cult passing over this advanced knowledge to its inner core through the generations, isolating it from the population, and then controlling what the population see. So people say, "Oh well, look at the global media. It's owned by so few people." Yeah, them. They own it. And why is the media telling you the same as the education system does? You look at Silicon Valley. Now, of course, the internet is this massive source from which people get their sense of reality. They get their perceptions from. We form our perceptions from information. Control information, you control the perceptions. This is what censorship's all about. So you look at Peter Thiel of Palantir, this CIA seed-funded organization that is massively involved in the surveillance through the intelligence agencies, the military, NHS in Britain, etc. You look at Elon Musk, of all the companies that he runs, including X. You look at David Sachs, who's been appointed to be the AI crypto czar of Donald Trump. And you look at your Zuckerbergs, and you look at your Jeff Bezos, and they also are expressions of this cult. And servants of this cult. You know, if you can see them in the public arena, they're gophers. The real power is behind the scenes. So all these sources of information that the population is getting are coming from these cult sources and these cult gophers. So you have two worlds, and they are divided by one word: knowledge. You keep the advanced knowledge within your inner circle of the cult, and you give the population basically a load of old crap. And so you keep from them as best you can, and it's very effective, the nature of reality itself. So if I said to most people, when you look through your eyes, can you see everything in the space you're looking at? They'd say, "Oh, of course I can, mate. Of course I can. It's bloody obvious. See everything." No, you can't. Staggeringly, and I've said many times, this should be taught to every child at the earliest time that they can grasp it. According to mainstream science, the electromagnetic spectrum, which is basically our experienced reality, is 0.005% of what exists in the universe in terms of energy in all its forms. Visible light, which is the only band of frequency that we can see, everything we're looking at now is within that band of frequency, is a smear of the 0.005%. So if you take that, humans are basically blind. But because it seems that we're seeing everything in the space that we're looking at, then people don't realize that they are. So things that they understand, because they understand the nature of reality, because it's passed on, most people don't understand and thus dismiss by reflex action. I'll give you an example. You know when people say, honestly, mate, I saw this UFO, it came out of nowhere and then disappeared into nowhere. Or people say, there was this entity and it just came out of nowhere at the end of the bed, and then disappeared. But it hasn't appeared from nowhere and it hasn't disappeared. What this phenomena has done is entered visible light, which is the only band that we can see, and to the observer, it's appeared out of nowhere. And when it leaves, it appears to disappear into nowhere. All it's done is change its frequency to enter visible light and then gone back to where it came from. And so we're sitting here now, and the entirety of infinite reality exists in the space that we're sitting in. But we are only able, like the radio and television stations and the analog system, we're only able to see one channel. All the other channels, I mean, what happens? You've got a radio station, you've got a radio. So you tune it to radio station A. Okay, I can hear it. Okay, so now move it to radio station B. Oh, I can hear another station now. Yeah. And the station you've just gone from, station A, has not ceased to exist. It's still broadcasting. It's that you're not tuned to it anymore. And these, I call them biological computers, lock us in to a certain band of frequency. And that's why we can only see a limit, a tiny limit of what there is to see. And so when you talk about
aliens,
and non-human entities, understandably, from that perspective, people say, well, why can't we see them then? Well, my answer to that is you can hardly see anything, mate.
have you ever seen an alien? And what am I to look out for if I'm to spot one?
Well, first of all, they operate in this other dimension overwhelmingly. I've talked to people all around the world, literally all around the world, who've had the experience of what's called shapeshifting, which can be quite simply explained.
Yeah, what is shapeshifting?
Okay.
In brief.
Right.
Because I want to talk to you about the moon after this.
Okay. So these particular bloodlines, they have two energetic fields. We have an energetic field, the human field, right? Now, okay, oh dear. Again, you have to go into certain background about the nature of reality itself before shapeshifting becomes explainable.
People are going to struggle with the words reality and aliens in the same sentence.
Yeah, well, they can struggle how they like. I'm only interested in what's going on. So let's put it this way. One of the things that's very, very clear to me is as this technological explosion is unfolding, getting more and more faster and faster, it's actually mirroring the very reality that we're experiencing and the way we experience it. So in this room probably is Wi-Fi. And Wi-Fi is encoded in a radiation field with all the information of the internet. If I get a computer, but we can't see it, where's the frickin' Wi-Fi? It's outside visible light, so we can't see it. So then you get a computer. And what the computer does is decode the Wi-Fi. and it decodes the Wi-Fi and it puts it on the screen in a completely different form to how it exists in the Wi-Fi field. It's graphics, it's moving pictures, it's words, whatever. And the inside the computer is where the decoding is going on. So we're looking at the screen, but actually everything's going on inside the computer. So then, this is why I call the human body a biological computer. When you do the research into how the body works, and this again is mainstream science, the five senses, which is how we interact with this reality we think is real, are picking up waveform information. A wonderful example, perfect example, is the ears. I'm talking to you now, but there's not words passing between us. What's passing between us is a frequency field of information generated by my vocal cords. Your ears pick up those sound waves, they turn them into electrical signals, they communicate them electrically to the brain, and different parts of the brain specialize in decoding the different senses. So the visual part is back here somewhere. And then the brain puts together that information into a sense of reality that we think is external to us. And, it looks as if it's external the way we experience it. But actually, it's all going on in here, just as it's going on inside the computer. So all the senses work in the same way. They take frequency information and they turn it into electrical information and communicate it to the brain. So what I'm looking at now is, in its base form, I'm looking at an information field, which is what your body is, my body is. And if you get into quantum physics, the physics below the material world in the deep energetic levels, they've shown this to be true. Nothing that we think is physical is actually physical. I'll give you an example. We are told that physicality is created by atoms, right? Atoms are empty. They have no solidity. There's a great phrase that describes it. If, an atom is a nucleus and there's then the electrons flying around the nucleus. That's what an atom is. It has no solidity. And as someone said, if you take the nucleus to be the size of a 10-cent piece, then the atom would be the size of a baseball stadium. And virtually everything inside an atom is, quote, empty space. You go into the nucleus and you go into the electrons and it's the same thing. It's empty space. How can empty space create a physical world? It can't, because it's all a freaking illusion decoded by the mind.
It's kind of funny how everybody stopped talking about Epstien, literally. Most of the seekers of information and journalists, analysts, conspiracy theorists, etc., etc., they're all consumed by this Charlie Kirk, and that was the plan. That was really the plan, for people to be fully focused on Charlie Kirk, this Charlie Kirk mystery. And I'm not saying that people should not be questioning, because we all see people. We don't believe the FBI, we don't believe the narrative they're spewing, we don't believe the official narrative. Just like 9/11, just like C-19, etc., weapons of mass destruction, etc., etc. We don't believe. But regardless, other issues are out there, but it's just Charlie Kirk people. What about the Epstein files? And this is how they operate, people. They just say, we're gonna release those Epstein files, we're gonna this, we're gonna that. Epstein. So it's like, calm the mass, the mob, the anger mob is... yo, it just cramp them people, cramp that energy, kill that vibe, that burning zeal. People who remember like 2 months ago or so, before the Charlie Kirk thing, people were boiling up, heated, hungry for information, for knowledge about Trump, about getting this Epstein file and Trump connection. But guess it's all forgotten. It's all forgotten, people. Cause like, what about Epstein? What about the files? How long? How long? Like, I don't get it, people. And like, what are we expecting in those files? What are we expecting to see? Okay, this shape shifting. Alright, this shape shifting thing about Epstein, people. This man about island, do all type of crazy stuff. Who to tell? Who to tell? Maybe that's why he needed an island. And these people are so evil, people. It's like easy for us to say these guys are not humans, they are reptilian, and I don't know, maybe that's an agenda to people. Maybe that's an agenda for we to say these men are so evil, they cannot be human, they have to be another race, they're not human. So I don't know, people, I don't know. But we go on, seek information, seeking knowledge, keep asking questions, keep challenging narratives. That's why from the first time I heard that reptilian theory, I didn't rubbish it, people. I didn't rubbish it, cause given what we are becoming becoming conscious to each day, it's hard for me to say that's not real, that's not possible. Because what we know, what do we really know? What do we know, people? What do we know? What do we know? So keep on going on, keep on searching, more courage, more strength, more power to all the seekers of this world. And people saying I'm what, African, sound like an African Zulu. Well, I'll take it. I'm in Jamaica, but hey, I'll never deny my Africanness. Never. So I'll take it. Love, people, love.